Hi, I'm Sonia Goins, and I'm near Victory Memorial Parkway. Real estate in this area is very desirable. The homes are large, the gardens are spectacular. However, many of the people who live here are white. This could have something to do with the fact that many of the homes in the area were once part of a racial restrictive covenant. The Roaring Twenties was a time of change in Robbinsdale and all across the country. Horses were replaced with Model Ts, flappers and short dresses were a thing, and many people got their first radios. But it was also a dark time in our history. As cities started to expand, racism guided how neighborhoods developed. Starting in the 1920s, many neighborhoods had what's known as racial restrictive covenants or housing segregation.
When somebody bought a house from somebody else, what they would put in the covenant or what they would put in the deed to the property is to say that you would not be able to sell this property to somebody else, in this case, for people who are African American.
These are two deeds from the 1920s to a home on Zane Avenue in Robbinsdale. They were drafted 3 years apart and both contain a restrictive covenant. It states, the home shall only be sold, rented, or otherwise disposed of to people of the Caucasian race.
There were a lot of covenants that also applied over time to, let's say, different ethnic groups or different religions. But the most prominent type of covenants were these ones that basically prevented you from being able to sell your house to a person of color.
This interactive map by the University of Minnesota Mapping Prejudice Project shows a time lapse of where racial restrictive covenants were applied in Robbinsdale during the first half of the 20th century.
Actually, the border between Robbinsdale and Minneapolis is the most interesting part of our map. You can see how there's a wall of restricted properties all along the border. And we Robbinsdale as a suburb was created right at this moment that racial covenants were really coming into become kind of standard.
In 1948, the Supreme Court prohibited the enforcement of racial restrictive covenants, but this didn't stop people from doing this privately. The Fair Housing Act passed in 1968 and made discrimination in housing illegal. And although racial restrictive covenants are no longer enforceable, the consequences of the contracts are still being felt today.
Places that had covenants in place are still the whitest parts of the metro today. Making them illegal was not enough to really change the demographic patterns.
Some homeowners may be surprised to learn racial segregation language is still hidden in property records in many Robbinsdale neighborhoods.
It shouldn't be on there. That's kind of archaic and discriminatory. I don't like it.
However, locating your property deed and then finding if restrictive covenant language is on the title could be challenging.
I would definitely remove it. If obviously I don't know it's there, my wife doesn't know it's there, and if we look at it and find out it's there, we'd be more than willing to get rid of it.
Getting rid of racist language on property deed is an arduous process, as Robbinsdale City Council member Bill Blonigan found out.
I researched my title by myself. I then ask, in the case of registered property, for a director of the title examiner to take this off. I pay $46.
During Tuesday's city council meeting, Blonigan and fellow council members approved a system to make it easier for residents to remove derogatory language off property deeds.
Getting it off your title is just an emotional, educational, and moral thing to do, and that's what this is all about.
For more information on racial restrictive covenants, log on to our website, ccxmedia.org. In Robbinsdale, Sonia Goins, CCX News.
Find more local news stories at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.